Except that it's only showing your shirt and not your face. There.
That better?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be doing most of my talking probably right here anyways.
Okay.
So if not, is that bad?
No, it's not that bad. I mean, that was the accurate thing. I mean, it just didn't have your face.
Maybe a little higher.
Didn't have
I
your
think
face.
last week you had it down here.
Oh, did I?
I think.
Maybe I feel like it was further back here.
All right. Go ahead, honey. You're good with video.
I think
Both of you.
You got it.
Make it work. All right. Cool. We have the whiteboard in there. That's important. Okay. Sweet. So let's.
it's not beautiful, but it gets the job done.
All right.
You're
Cool.
beautiful,
There.
but
Well, thanks.
with the window behind you.
I appreciate that. So, Cindy, would you mind opening us with a word of prayer?
Okay. Dear Lord, I thank you so much for this day, and in the hecticness of this day, I ask God that you quiet our hearts and help us to learn and keep you in the center of all of our thoughts and our conversation, Father. And God, I just pray for the people that couldn't be here tonight, and whatever it is they're doing, that you let them know that you're walking right beside them. And we specifically pray for Donna and her pain, and Lord, ask that you hold her heart closely as she works through whatever she's got to do with her sister. And we just thank you that she was a member of your family, and that we're all going to get to meet her at some point in time, Lord. That's awesome. And once again, we just thank you for loving us and caring for us and giving us all kinds of wonderful gifts from you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you. I appreciate it. So, I don't know if you heard Gary or John, but Donna Story, who was here last week and is going to participate. She's actually going to be teaching law number 18 and 21. Her sister passed away yesterday. She actually gave me a phone call soon thereafter it happening. So the paper.
And Larry and Debbie are at the 9/11 stuff.
Yeah, Larry and Debbie. Sorry, thank you for. Oh yeah, Larry and Debbie. We don't care about that. They know. Okay. So they're helping out with their local tea party in their county, and also there's a 9/11 presentation. So memorial thing. I don't know the details. All I know is that's where they're at tonight, and so I'm glad that they're, serving our country in a way with that, because we don't always think about it. So I do want to talk about that just a little bit, because I do believe that it's applicable to leadership. But just from our experiences first, since it is 9/11, I remember my story. I was asleep. It was a Saturday morning, so I was asleep. Right? Is that
Sorry,
funny?
it
'Cause
just
I'm always...
seemed a little anticlimactic.
Sorry, I was, but I was a little boy. Let's see, if it was 2001, I would have been 8. So
It was during the week.
It was a
it was
Tuesday.
during the week?
Yeah.
Well, for some reason, my dad was home. So that's why I associated it with Saturday.
No, it
But
was Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday.
It was like
Yeah.
a Tuesday.
I think
Okay.
it was a Tuesday.
Okay, if it was a Tuesday, then I'm wrong. But for whatever reason,
It
my
could have
dad
been
was
a
home.
Wednesday though, but I think it was
So
Tuesday.
that's why I thought it was Saturday the whole time. But thank you for correcting me. So if it was a Tuesday, it was a Tuesday. But he was home, and then he woke us up. We were gonna have breakfast, but then he woke us up because he was like, "This is like news. This is history that you're watching right now, kids. So like, you know what's happening." And I was 8, so no, I didn't know what was happening. But I remember watching the second plane hit, and it's kind of interesting growing up now, being 26, thinking about active history that's happened that's now a memorial, right? Because I didn't live through Vietnam or World War II or anything like that, so Cold War, all that type of stuff. So for me, it was the first recollection of something that I remember happening in history that is for history to be said. What about you, John?
Yeah, that was mine too, basically, because like I was in 6th grade. I was in I went to Catholic school, and we had religion class, and the nun was like, "There's some really bad people in the world that really hate us," and I was like, at first, like when I first said like a plane hit I was like, a plane hit a building, like. I'm like, was it like flying too low? Like, was it an accident? Like,
Right.
Yeah.
I was like, how does that
And it
happen?
happens on occasion, I guess.
Yeah, I've never heard of it, but okay. But then I saw it on TV. I'm like, oh, this was not an accident. So it was crazy. But dude, I was like, it was my mom's first day working at Dillard's, when she worked at Dillard's, cause she had raised me. Like she did Mary Kay from like 4 until I was like 12, and then like she started working at Dillard's when I was 12. And that was her first day there, and she got out early. It was crazy, but yeah.
I was working at Summit Racing Equipment, and when that first plane hit, everybody started talking about it. When the second plane hit, everybody quit working. The phone stopped ringing, and everybody went to watch a TV, to see what was going on. And it was very life-altering for an adult. When you saw people jumping out the windows, to their deaths because they were burning, and just the volume of the whole thing. And then when there was another one in another state, and then there was another one in another, when the plane went down, and then the Pentagon. I mean, in your mind, you're thinking, okay, what is happening? And that was the point in time I was not attending church. So that was the thing that brought me back to church. I came back here like 2 weeks after that.
Wow. Okay.
So, because I'm like, okay, I need to. This is not a wake up call. I don't know what is, because I wasn't questioning whether or not I was going to go to heaven, but I felt like I was gonna. I felt like I knew that I wasn't living the kind of life that I wanted to live, and I wasn't living the kind of life that was close to Christ, and I knew that.
Okay.
I mean, because for years he'd been tapping me on the shoulder. Hello, I'm still here. So,
you're like, airplane hit a tower. If that doesn't do it, I'm in for trouble.
So looking at your history personally, that was something that's changed, and then there wasn't like you went for 3 months and then died off again and then came back later. This was the last time.
Yes.
Since then you've been coming consistently looking for Christ.
And the thing, with me, the reason I quit going to church in the first place was because Walt got busy and couldn't go with me, and I mean it was just turning into a regular argument all the time, and I thought, it's just easier to stay home and not go to church. Well, pretty soon 10 years passes. And you don't go to church. And I just thought, you know what? You know where you need to be. You let him have his own walk with the Lord, and you just go to church, and you're a big girl. You can do this by yourself, But it is lonely to go to church by yourself when you have a spouse at home. It's very lonely. It's a hard thing to do all the time. So,
especially because you probably feel like people are like, where's your husband? And they start like wondering.
I feel like they don't care.
Oh, they don't care?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, well then
that's more of the opinion that I get. They really don't care.
Oh, is that, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, because if they cared, they wouldn't always let you sit by yourself. I mean, which I have no problem with it, but I mean, to me, if people cared, they would come and sit beside you or whatever, but they, I know, that's just a thought that, and it doesn't really run through my mind that much, but it can be a very lonely place to come to church when you have a family and try to be the Rock of Gibraltar all the time, So that's been it's been all those years, and he does come to church with me now sometimes, but he still, that walk with him and God is him and God's business. It is not my business, and that's the way I treat it. It's like when you are ready, God will work with you.
Yeah. That's completely scripturally accurate, like what you're doing. Yeah. This is so supported in 1st or 2nd Peter. I don't remember which one. let your husbands be won by the conduct of your life, and that's what you're doing. You're living your life out, ministering to different girls in your home, different people, going to life group, going here, ministering, serving. Yeah. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and it's not that he's resentful about church or anything like that, but he's busy, and he really just, when you work 6 days a week sometimes, and you have Sunday off, and you want to build cars and do work around the house, that's the day you have to do it, So I understand that, but it's just him that his walk is between him and God, and I just have to not say a word about it, and just whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What about you, love?
Well, I'm doing homeschooling because I actually woke up and did school. I'm just kidding. And so I don't know what subject I was doing, but I know we ended up gathering on the couch and watching it, and so kind of similar to you all, I guess. So it's kind of like, oh, this is kind of like what's gonna happen next, you know?
Yeah.
You're like, okay, and then you're like, oh no, this is getting kind of bad. Because at first you're like, oh, okay, and you just kind of, I don't know, have this sense of like, cut your losses a little bit, like,
Yeah.
oh, bad things happen, this is bad, but then you're like, okay, this is really getting bad.
Yeah.
And you're like, how bad is this gonna go? Is it gonna keep happening? Is like a war starting? So
That's, yeah, I mean, you do think that, you know?
yeah,
Is
this
there
is the
secret
way.
agents around here? Where's my guns?
I was like, this is the way a war would start. I mean, seriously, and you're in America too, so
Yeah.
we get really vicious, which is fine. I mean, you nip things in the bud around here, but
And it's so rare for us to have like wars like
Over
Attack
here.
like
for
that.
here.
Yeah,
yeah,
Like,
'cause usually-
we've done different wars.
yeah, we like
Yeah.
Europe,
we're like
other
preventative
places.
maintenance. We like go over there and have wars, so they don't come over here.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Well, cool. Well, that is really cool though for your story, being like a life-altering event that happened that has been sustained over 18 years. You know, like that's really cool. How old
Older
are you?
than you.
I feel like a lot of people had that happen. I mean, good things did come out of evil from that
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
I mean, and it wasn't just with me, but I mean, I've heard other stories and
Mhm.
things that have happened with people that have been long term,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
I-
What about you, Gary?
Well, being the oldest person here, you know, I've had a lot of life experience traveling the world, and you know, we're just so thankful to be in the United States. You know, we don't, especially the younger generation, isn't understanding what we have here. But I've lived through two of these type of situations, and when I was 17, John F. Kennedy was assassinated.
Oh yeah, that would be really something.
Okay, and I went to a school downtown, Akron,
Yeah.
where you had to catch buses and stuff, and Akron was a busy metropolis of transportation and hub, and I remember
That's when the rubber shops were here.
Yeah.
and
Different.
big department stores,
Yes.
and it was busy. But when school was out, we walked down to Main Street, and you could hear a pin drop. The sound was nothing, and the newspapers were flowing, and the news and all that. And then when the 9/11 happened, I had a team of agents, and I were working an insurance enrollment in southern Ohio, up in the hills, and we didn't have radios. Okay, and the truckers, it was a trucking company, and the truckers were coming in. Did you hear? Did you hear? Did you hear? Well, I never thought to ever carry a radio with me. From that day on, I always carried a radio in my car because we were where there was no.
Yeah.
We didn't
That's
have.
really interesting.
We didn't have phones.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
18 years ago,
Yeah.
cell phones weren't like.
Yeah.
They
You know,
weren't.
cell phones were
They
80,
weren't
They
like
were like
they were.
bricks.
86,
If
89 was the 90s were
Phone.
cell phone. So, but we canceled the enrollment after a while and come back to North Canton and then on up to Akron, and the same phenomenon. There was no traffic. There were signs in every window of every store saying closed for a national disaster. And it really didn't hit you till you got home.
Mhm.
Right.
And then you saw on TV that.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting time.
Yeah. It was.
Well, and it's so interesting how it just shut the country down entirely. So you guys probably wouldn't have been aware of that, but I mean, there was no commerce going on
There was
whatsoever.
nothing
There was
happening.
nobody flying. There was nobody calling for an order. There was nobody doing nothing.
Everybody was waiting for the next shoe to drop, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I do remember whether it was the newspaper or something that George Bush had announced, like, hey, go shopping. Like, keep the economy running.
Yes.
Don't just shut down.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
I
he-
do remember something about that. Like,
Yeah.
you got to keep moving, guys.
He threw out the first pitch of the baseball season,
Mhm.
and he specifically, they did it in New York City,
Okay.
I remember that.
and he specifically asked the population of America to go back to work.
Mm.
start to buy, keep the commerce growing. Don't let these people ruin our way of life.
Yeah.
And that's a key leadership thing for him to do.
It
Yeah.
is.
Got to do that.
It really was. And I think we're going to go over that in a later chapter. You've probably already read it because you were ahead at the time. So, yeah, so that's Larry, Debbie are doing some sort of an event with 9/11. Thank you for sharing with your history being the oldest in the room. It's always nice to hear. Is that working properly? You're not doing anything funny to it, are you?
No, I was just waving back at Donna.
Oh, okay. Hey, Donna. Glad she's being able to watch it live. So Donna, Larry, Debbie, and Mark. Mark is still on board with us, all that stuff. And then I've highlighted, so let's go over this document real quick. All right, there's your little print off. This is also available in the Facebook group. Okay?
Okay.
It's really self-explanatory and color coordinated. So
Aw.
I tried to make it as simple as possible for everyone. John, you've got back-to-back though, 7 and 8. Are you comfortable with that?
It's totally fine.
Totally fine with you. Cool. And that's also pretty quick too, for 7 weeks. So bam, you'll be happening it. And go ahead and get, like for you, Cindy, the law of addition and the law of connection. If you want to go ahead and read those chapters and start to meditate on them a little bit, let them be eaten up a little bit
Okay.
by you, that's okay.
Okay.
You're allowed to skip ahead to the ones that you are doing.
Okay.
Okay? And then you're going to start to see, no pun intended with the law of connection, but the connections that are happening throughout all the different laws, because they are silos and can be learned individually, but they also can have a pattern of effect. So the law of the lid is what we're going over today. Any questions about the document?
No.
No? Okay. Cool. This is a very interactive class. And I intentionally brought a bottle with a lid because I want to break things down, make the complex simple. All right. This is my terrible drawing of a cup with a lid on it. All right. You've got a lid right there. There you go. Cool. So everybody got a chance to read the chapter, correct?
Right.
All right. So we're gonna observe some things. I'm gonna ask some questions, and then we're going to learn some different things, and then applying is going away. But like I said, I also want this to be very workshop focused. So I hope we brought a pen, notepad, personal. I give you notepad, but I don't like taking notes on the notepad. Honey, would you grab that one for Gary so he has
What
one?
about this one? Is
Yeah,
this
that
one
one's
okay?
fine too. No, I don't like that one. Get the other one that's more hazardous. Okay, cool. All right, so the purpose of this being a group setting and not just a lecture, like I could record this on my home and my own whiteboard and just distribute it to everybody that signs up and you can watch it on your own. But the purpose of this is to be interactive. So if you have a question or a statement, raise your hand in the middle of my sentence so that we can talk about it, okay? Because the purpose of this is for you to learn what we are going over, not just for me to feel good about being able to talk a lot, okay? Amen?
Okay.
Okay, amen. All right, nice. All right, so I'm not going to reread the whole law to us, but the law of the lid to me is the superseding, okay? The superseding law, okay? Because the law of the lid, as is defined in the very beginning of the book, leadership ability determines a person's level of effectiveness. Okay, John Maxwell is huge on using words like effective and maximizing and efficiency. Like, that's his DNA. That's John Maxwell. And even in the foreword of this book, Stephen Covey said, if you read this book, you're not just getting 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, you're learning about John Maxwell and who he is and how he conducts his life. John's admitted to not being a 10 out of 10 on all of these laws, but nevertheless, his DNA in this first law is something so precious because it affects, in my opinion, all of the other laws. The other ones, I believe, are more siloed than this one because your ability determines your effectiveness. Now, there's something that I really want to point out. If you're hearing me say capability and ability, I want to differentiate those just a little bit. Okay? Capability and ability. Okay? You can raise your ability. You cannot raise your capability. Okay? Why do I differentiate that? It's not from the dictionary definition. You need any more pencils? You need at least 4.
I don't like the soft one.
Oh, okay.
I got it first.
Good, good. The difference here between capability and ability is very simply that your capability is what God has designed to be the top of your human capacity lid. Okay? That is what God has placed on you. As far as, hey, this is as much as I can do as a person. All right? You take somebody like our current president, Donald Trump, has a huge lid on his leadership and how he's able to influence people. He wrote a lot about it in his book, The Art of the Deal, which I haven't read yet. I intend to. But regardless, he is an influencer, right? As opposed to somebody who doesn't assume any leadership, right? Like a bum on the street. Anybody that's, somebody, even somebody who, let's say, is the CEO of a company with 100 people. Their capability, based on the results of what they do with their life, I don't know if y'all have heard the principle of, I want to become all that I can be. That whole sentence structure is based on possibilities and impossibilities. Both of those have to exist when we're talking about becoming all that I can be. I have a friend who has a podcast called Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self. It's really inspiring. I love it. I've been a guest on it. It was really fun. He's an awesome guy. You've been a guest on it as well. Really cool. But that principle, becoming your greatest possible self. So is it possible for somebody from the middle of nowhere who doesn't have any education, no parental connections or anything like that, to go from 0 to being the Pope? Okay, just
The
somebody,
Pope.
the Pope, right? I'm just throwing somebody out there.
What a thing to pull out there.
Well, he's a leader of a religious organization that spans the globe, all right? Or, gosh,
Probably
the President of the
not the
United
Pope.
States, the President of Hungary, okay? I don't care. Just their leadership ability of what God has placed on them, they can become all that they can be, their greatest possible self. So when he's talking about you can raise your leadership lid, I believe that you can raise your leadership lid all the way up to the top of your capability. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay, are there any questions on that? Because I want to get feedback. Or
Did you just
deeper
define ability and
understanding.
I missed it?
Well, ability was defined in the book
Oh, okay.
as he talked about it.
Okay.
So
As
essentially,
your ability grows, your capability grows.
no, very similar, and that's why I'm differentiating it in my vocabulary for the course of this class, because capability is what God from predestined, as far as, hey, you are capable of doing this much. The highest and best outcome of your life can only be X, Y, Z. Does that make sense? However big
Well, it depends
is.
how you define it. Like what he's saying makes sense if you define capability in the other type of way.
Exactly.
Under your
Which is why
definition,
I'm clarifying
no.
it.
Yeah.
Just because we're subject to the English language and how we communicate. But your ability, like you said, when you raise your ability, that's what's being raised. Your ability to do more, to become more, your leadership lid, right? You can raise your lid, your ability to be effective, right? Capability, very gray area that I'm trying to really highlight here to make sure we're all on the same page. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So like ability, I read the chapter and I don't remember them giving me a clean little definition. So how about effective skills? Is that a good thing for ability?
Effective leadership lid. Yeah. Skills could be thrown in there, perhaps. I wouldn't put it that way in my words.
Okay.
But when he's talking about, okay, go to page 6, leadership ability and success dedication.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So this chart, right, that he draws out here, saying, hey, you can raise your ability or your success dedication. And Cindy, you've probably seen this with other companies in your career, people that work really, really, really hard on their job. They don't work really, really hard on themselves, right?
Yeah.
I
So
work with a
this
lot of
is
those
where, what'd you say?
So I work with a lot of those people.
Yeah?
Yeah, dude.
So what is it that they're missing, John?
Personal development.
Personal development, which is what we're doing here. We're
Exactly.
developing ourselves personally.
Mhm.
Spiritual development, all-encompassing, right?
Yeah.
So when you're raising your ability, you're lifting that lid. That's the definition that you're looking for, I believe, where it says leadership ability.
Oh, okay.
That is the lid. Here, that's the picture.
Okay.
That's what it looks like. Cool. So, so why does this matter? And I really want to clarify this because some people might be reading this and might be like, oh, this is like, you know, I'm stuck here, right? No, you're only as stuck as you think you are. Now, not going too far into theology. I'm not an elder here. I'm not a deacon here, so I don't want to go too far into that way, all right? But the aspect of, are we chosen before time or do we choose? And the answer, to my opinion, is yes. Because you chose, but also God chose you. So it's kind of a two-way street there. So I don't go on either side of the of those. I'm just, kind of like I chose Marissa and she chose me.
Yeah.
We both chose each other, right? So that makes sense. So in the same way, whenever you're thinking about your leadership capability, you're still responsible for your ability. Your leadership ability is 100% in your control. How much of a leader you can own these different 21 laws. Taking the test, this is a note. If you haven't done it, you might be able to do it here. Did y'all bring your 21 laws leadership evaluation?
Yes.
Sure did.
Okay, cool. Did y'all categorize them into the 3 different categories and find out which laws you were the strongest one in?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, great. So, maybe we can go over that a little bit now. Can you put a number on the laws that you were, what verbiage did you
It was
use?
like
Strength zone, growth, and weakness.
Yeah.
Strength, growth, and weakness. So, your strength and weaknesses, how many of each of those did you have?
strength. Like how many strengths, how many weaknesses?
Yeah, for the laws.
I had 2 strengths and 3 weaknesses.
2 strengths and 3 weaknesses.
Okay.
Okay. I had 1 weakness and I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 strengths. And simple math, 21 minus the rest, so 6. I had 15 that were growth, and Marissa, you had 16 that were
16.
growth. Right?
Mhm.
Cool. Does that make sense? Cindy, John?
Um,
And you guys watching at home, be going through this as well. All right. So on your leadership evaluation, you should be categorizing these into 3 different categories. It's on the last sheet. All right. And then post that in the group. All right. So y'all can see that. Strength, growth, and weaknesses. Is it making sense, Cindy? There you are, right at the bottom.
Yeah. I had 3 strengths and 1, 2, 3 weaknesses.
All right. John?
I have 5 strengths and 3 weaknesses.
5 strengths and 3 weaknesses. So 8, 21 minus 8 would be 23. I'm sorry, 13. And then Cindy would have been the same as me, so you have 15. All right. So that's what I love about this course is look at how much room we have for growth.
Right.
13,
that.
15, 15, 16 laws that we can work on. All right. Here's something that I've been learning a lot recently is focusing in on your strength. John, do you have the list of what your strengths are?
The law of process.
Process, all right.
Solid ground. Addition. Law of the picture.
Picture.
Debbie.
Bless you.
Bless you. And the law of sacrifice.
All right.
Ooh, you got something to teach Andrew and I about that one, probably.
Sacrifice is one of our weaknesses.
Oh.
I was into growth for that one. Cindy?
I had addition, solid ground, and sacrifice.
Okay. And that's kind of cool. Out of 21, you'll have 3 of the same strengths. That's kind of rare.
Oh,
I
you
don't know
do?
the numbers of that, but these are John's. And Cindy has 3.
Oh, wow, look at that.
Right? So for me, I had lid, intuition, inner circle, victory, and explosive growth. Marissa, what were your two?
Oh no, I seriously am interested in understanding this law of sacrifice thing, because that doesn't sound like I give myself a 1. Like, I don't understand it. Like,
Well, hey, that's why we're here in discussion. This is what
it
I
feels
love
to
about
me
groups
like I'd be
this.
helping somebody by putting myself in distress, which is something I don't do, so it confuses me. So there must be something powerful about it that I don't understand.
It did kind of like I did kind of like get confused on like the C where it said I'll give up my rights to reach my potential as a leader. I was like, what do you mean? Like you'll go to jail? like what do you mean?
I was so confused. I was like, I'm just gonna go with
But
0.
I thought like, but on one end, I thought like maybe it just meant like I'll give up my rights as a leader. Like I'll be a part of the group.
Mm-hmm.
So like
Like a
I'll-
servant leader?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll serve others instead of just being like all high and mighty or something.
Mhm.
Like thinking I'm better than other people.
Mhm.
You still like you're humble.
And I thought of it as I had the perfect right to ream you up and down, but I'm not going to do that. Instead, I want to
okay.
go for your benefit. I want to try to make this a learning
I can see that
situation,
too.
and
Mm-hmm.
that's what I got out of that
That's
one.
good. Some of these were like so hard for like me because like I don't have a normal work situation, so I'm like over here trying to figure out like what kind of scenario can I make up in my brain to try to think if that works or not.
Having employees is really a hard thing, isn't it, Gary?
Yeah, I do that.
I mean, it really
Creating,
tries you.
creating
It
teams
does,
and,
yeah.
and running a business is. I've been in sales all my life, and I've been taught sales teams all over the strong idiosyncrasies of each person come to the top, and then a good leader has to meld them for the betterment of a team.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So
That's what he talks about in here with the leadership team being that, hey, nobody's going to do 21 things right.
a good team has every discipline on the team,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sorry if I'm
No, I like you sharing. You have so much wisdom to share with us here.
a good team is made up of all parts, and a good leader then has to take those parts and massage them to a team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So those different strengths that we all just
Wait,
went
I didn't
over.
tell you mine.
Oh, I'm sorry, baby. Go ahead.
The law of the inner circle and the law of the lid.
Lit. Okay, cool. So we have 2 that are the same.
Oh,
That's kind of cool. So like R5, they both fall into R5.
No,
So I wonder if that happens with y'all. Which, by the way, Donna, if you're still watching, hopefully you've gotten this far. You're the one doing the law of sacrifice. So if you want to go ahead and read that one ahead of time and really meditate and see how they fall in line, that principle, because you've got the last one, 21, and 18. And if you're in the Facebook group right now, I put this PDF in there as a file, so you can tap it, download it yourself, have a copy for yourself. Sound good? Make it easy? All right, so here's the reason that we're talking about these, is that we do have areas of growth and areas of strength. But even your areas of strength, as young as we all are, nobody here is 88, right? Lucille's not here today, so I can get away with saying that.
is that your grandma?
Yeah, that's my grandma. So we want to raise our leadership ability to the top of our capabilities.
Sounds good.
That sentence is the bullet point, the bullseye of this whole talk of the law of the lid. You want to become all that God has created you to be.
So say that again. You want to lift your ability.
You want to lift
to
your
match
leadership ability to the maximum of your capability.
Gotcha.
I love that you guys are all reading your books too. I was like, you know what? This is going to be the best journal for me. Then I don't have to flip through my notes and my book.
You inspired me to do some of that on my
It's
own.
a lot of space on here. I
Yeah,
started
it's
doing
kinda
it
nice.
with my other with my chapter that I had because I read it. And
Respect.
yeah.
Okay. The one you're teaching.
Mm-hmm.
That's what
And
you
it's
said.
kind of cool.
My
Like, you go back and
chapter.
read it later and you're like, oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
grew, yay.
Right.
Exactly. And she was taking the exam, and we were talking about like rating yourself, and it's like, okay, it's okay to just not give yourself the benefit of the doubt now, to have learned it, and then be sure when we take the tests at the end, the evaluation. So that's why like all these different things that maybe are growth or maybe weaknesses, maybe they're actually growths or strengths. But as of right now, we're in this learning process of diving into deep matters that truly hinge on our effectiveness as leaders. Okay? So I want to read this line here from the book. Talking about the McDonald's brothers, their genius was in customer service and kitchen organization. Okay, and then ... going down to the bottom of the paragraph. Dick and Maurice were good single restaurant owners. They understood how to run a business, make their systems efficient, cut costs, and increase profits. They were efficient managers, but they were not leaders. Their thinking patterns clamped a lid down on what they could do and become. At the height of their success, Dick and Maurice found themselves smack dab against the law of the lid. Now, the cool part about this is you can raise your leadership lid. That's the exciting part. They were clamped down on it, but if John Maxwell's not that old, so they couldn't have read the book, but if they had invested into, like, reading their Bible about leadership principles, every book on this personal development world has a foundational, not root, maybe a root, I was thinking of a stake, in the Word of God.
Yeah.
Every one of them. John Maxwell was a preacher. I think he was a Methodist preacher, if I'm not mistaken. So, hello.
Hello.
Welcome. So, do you need anything else? No, like, we got more stuff up here if you're looking for it. But, bye, Carrie. And thanks for the spoons. We really like them.
Yes, you're welcome.
All right. It's a wedding gift for us.
No, it's
The
nice.
spoons.
She did the cutting board too.
She did some cool like wood engraving stuff. So, anyways, back to the point. All right. So, I believe that success is within the reach of just about everyone, and that personal success without leadership ability brings only limited effectiveness. Okay, and the reason John says that is because we're dealing with people in everything that we do. All right,
Mhm.
you're dealing more with clients, Marissa, than now that you have a business partner, you're dealing with me, which we talk about that daily. Like Cindy, you've got employees, business partners, clients, vendors, etc. Husbands.
Husband/boss.
Yeah. All of that. And then John, in your business and job,
Mhm.
you've got to deal with coworkers, right? That maybe aren't investing in personal development.
Right. I got like my teammates, like, you know, they invest in personal development, you know.
That's good.
So that's what's up.
And then you also deal with different podcasts that you're listening to outside of just this, because you're
Right.
trying to raise your leadership lid,
Mm-hmm.
how you can influence others.
Yeah, I like send it. Like I send my people podcasts and stuff like
That's
that.
great.
Yeah. That's really cool. That goes to the law of sacrifice. You're sacrificing your time for the direct benefit of others.
Oh, for real? That's what that is.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what's up.
Yeah. Now, I'm still learning on like the incentive of doing something for a profit. I'm still walking through that in my head, because if you're sending it to your downline, let's say, and you make a monetary profit off of their growth, is that really the law of sacrifice? I don't know.
I mean, but
Because of his questions where he was saying, at your sacrifice, this good is coming for it.
yeah, I don't know if I'm like sacrificing that, but I mean, I'm just like, hey, it's good stuff, so why not?
Mm-hmm.
Like, regardless if I make money off of them or not, for real. Because I recommend that type of stuff to like everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
It's kind of exciting too, cause like I have one particular friend in mind that like finally she's growing.
mhm.
It's kind of exciting. It took a while, but and so now I can kind of send her some stuff and kind of try to encourage her, and it's super cool because she's a really good friend of mine. So then I get to associate with somebody with a greater caliber.
Yep.
You know?
So he's raising their own.
It's like
leadership.
yay! Then then the people I hang out with, which is already a friend of mine, we can all relate with each other and help each other out. Yeah.
Now, I want to put a little bit of some lens or framework on what it is that we're talking about. As we're talking about leadership, you kind of hinted at it, honey, whenever you said the skills. So at the evaluation part, which we might have time to get to, we might not. People skills, planning and strategic thinking, vision and results. Okay? The reason that John did those, in my opinion, is because when you're leading people, and you need people skills. Smiling, handshakes, listening, not over-talking or interrupting them, depending on culture. All those different things are facets. How to win friends and influence people is the first one right there. Planning and strategic thinking. Okay, we have this group of people. We have some sort of a purpose, a mission statement. How are we going to go? How are we going to get there? I was really impressed by Mike Letta whenever we had a meeting about basketball. He sat in this room and he had his outline and he said, this is the strategy, this is what it is we're looking to do, here's our mission statement, here's our vision, la-di-da-da, and he line item it all out. Very good at his leadership ability that he's taken decades to improve from wherever he came as a teenager, learning how to lead people, right? So vision, what is the big picture, right? We're going to get to the law of the big picture. I'm super excited about that one. And then results, right? Okay, we just did this task. How good did we do, right? Because if you lead everybody down a path to a vision and then people spin off or they quit or it sabotages or the path wasn't right but all the people were there, like it's making all of those points of light come together. That in and of itself is your ability, how good you are at that. That's why we had your peers and employees and bosses, etc. rate you. Did you get a chance to go through that, John?
I didn't really have people rate me.
Okay.
But,
Cool. Do you want to do that by next week?
yeah.
Okay, sweet.
Honey, I had a question.
Yeah.
Is it a good time for a question?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so I was thinking of the McDonald's when I was reading this on the porch
Were
today.
you eating McDonald's while you were reading?
No. And
Good.
and I was thinking about the lid thing, and I was thinking about the questions they asked in here, and pertaining to the lid theoretically. And I was having a really hard time actually seeing the parallel between these questions that they asked and the chapter on the law and the lid. This is supposed to be a strength of mind. This first one. But I was having a little bit of trouble because to me it seemed like the McDonald's, if they were going with the questions laid out in number 1, the only thing they really needed to do is basically figure out who can we team up with or employ to help us with this. Because like that's what the first one says. When faced with a challenge, my first thought is, who can I enlist to help? Not what can I do?
Yes.
So the McDonald's could have raised their lid by just opening themselves up to more people, essentially?
Well, the reason that they tried to franchise, so they tried.
Yeah, that's what it said. And
Yeah,
I was just,
but they failed.
yeah. Okay.
So their leadership ability, if I'm answering your question,
Okay.
was not high enough to actually incorporate the ability to open up other franchise stores. So their leadership lid was too low. They had the success dedication, right? This thing was way high. They could make one restaurant work really well, and I think they had 2, if I remember right from the book. But their ability to lead others was where they lost it, and that's actually this next question that I'm going to ask. So I'll kind of answer it in this discussion if you can be patient, or I can directly answer
I
it.
can be patient.
Okay, cool. So give 2 examples, and this is for your own note taking. I'm going to take a minute just to kind of let you simmer, and then we'll hear your thoughts so we can all discuss it.
Okay.
Give 2 examples of steps Ray Kroc took to build the franchise business that the McDonald's brothers didn't make. You're welcome to. This is an open book test. But I just want to take 60 seconds or so for you to think about it. You don't have to write it down if it's a little later.
What it was the question?
Give 2 examples of steps that Ray Kroc took to build the franchise business that the McDonald's brothers didn't take. So it's probably going to be found on pages 4 and 5.
It sounded like they were willing to, like, invest everything. Like they were all in on this.
Ray or his brother or the brothers.
Yeah. Oh, no. The Crocs.
There's only one guy, Ray Kroc.
Oh, Ray
Sorry.
Kroc.
There's the McDonald's brothers, but there's Ray Kroc.
Sorry.
So Ray said, you said what? What are the 2 things? 2 examples.
Oh, I mean, there's probably more than 2, so this might not be a good one.
Okay.
I'm just saying, like, he was willing to, the law of sacrifice,
Yeah.
he was willing to invest and go all in.
Went
And-
all in. Is
yeah.
that a good summation?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Any others?
he had like a vision. Like they didn't have a vision.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I mean, I'm going off of this, but also like saw the.
You saw the movie too?
That movie Founder.
Okay.
And I was like, he had like a vision of like what he wanted, like, because he saw like that system was like perfect. He was like, well, what if we could just duplicate this system?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it was like that, and then they didn't understand. I think it was on here. Like they didn't understand like having like if they had a franchise, they didn't understand like having the same type of stuff at the franchise. They're like, why would you sell this? No, why would you call this one McDonald's when there's a McDonald's here?
Yeah.
Like that's what it was.
Phoenix,
Yeah.
Okay.
They recruited and hired the sharpest people that they could find.
Mm-hmm.
So he recognized that he didn't have all the stuff he needed to have to make his dream happen.
Mm-hmm.
So he tried to find other people to come on board.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And people watching, I want you to like comment, or if you're watching it on YouTube, then you can go to the Facebook page and comment on what 2 examples you think for Ray Kroc. And it can be the same if you've already listened to it. That's okay, because it's in the book and you can go back and read it. And that the one that I really want to highlight is what Cindy said, right? He hired the sharpest people, and what Marissa said was he even sacrificed that. And not only that, he personally borrowed from the bank against his own life insurance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he sacrificed, and let's see, for the sum of 2, bought the exclusive rights. Where's the part where he wanted to keep the salaries of other people?
Right there, he borrowed money from the bank, right down at the bottom.
I think
of
it's
page
the left
4.
one.
It was right there where I cut
against
off.
his life insurance to help cover the salaries of a few key leaders he wanted on the team.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the sacrifice and the upside on the far end, knowing that, hey, I'm going to get this back because I need to keep these people on my team to help run those different companies. And then Kroc succeeded in opening 100 restaurants, and the McDonald's brothers couldn't even do like 3 or 4.
Right.
And I think one of the sentences that really highlight to me about Kroc is that as soon as he visited the store, he had a vision for its potential. And this guy, if he had a strong vision, the strong plan, I mean, for him to like go through all this and be like, it's gonna happen, it's all gonna be under the radar almost, and then it's gonna explode.
Yeah, and he was a successful man selling milk machines, but the McDonald's brothers, milkshake machines.
Yeah.
Is that what I said?
Milk. You just said milk.
Oh, milk
That
machines?
confused me.
They have cows. No, I'm kidding. Milkshake machines. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You were saying? I cut you off.
Oh, dumb. I don't know. I'm just sitting here.
Okay.
I itch my nose. You know.
I
Sorry.
heard a noise and I thought you were saying something.
No.
You didn't get a chance to read the chapter, but you know the history of the McDonald's brothers. So if you want to spit anything out, that's okay.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Are you familiar with a person about the same contemporary of John Maxwell, Zig Ziglar?
Yeah.
Very,
Mhm.
very
Okay. He taught leadership and went to one of his conference meetings in 1995, and he challenged 4,000 of us to create our own mission statement, leadership statement.
That's great.
And I worked on mine for quite a while. And mine was help others to succeed, and you will prosper.
Mm.
Share your visions, learn to delegate, and set time aside for personal growth.
Mm.
And that's what all business owners need to do.
Mhm.
That is true.
Okay.
That's great.
It's good.
So,
Okay, yeah, that's good. Powerful, especially the delegation part. And he talks about it in, I think it was this book. Could be wrong. John Maxwell said at one point, if you can delegate, if somebody can do something 80% as well as you can do it, then some people get stuck in this paradigm of, I'm the only one in the entire world that can do this task as good as I can do it. And it's probably true if you're a small business owner, right? Or even if you're in ministry of some kind. Right? If you're teaching something, if you're serving in some capacity, maybe the food cupboard or something, like if you're serving in any capacity, sometimes you think, this is my thing. If I die, this is not going to exist anymore. And factually speaking, something happens to you, the thing is probably going to be continued on. as long as you develop some sort of a leadership team around you. The other thing is, as far as delegation goes, maybe your time is spent managing people as you raise up your own corporate structure to no longer doing the task. If somebody can do it 80% as good as you can, delegate it. Let it go. Give that task to somebody else so you can move on up and spend your time more effectively, whether it's spending time with grandkids or kids or spouse, enjoying life, or finding somebody else to do that. And you probably have seen that in your history of growing a company. Like, hey, I've gotten to a certain point, or your husband, hey, I've gotten to a certain point, I can't run the bookkeeping anymore, we're going to outsource that to somebody else that can delegate, manage, and then take managing two different things. Is that familiar? Am I on point?
Yeah, to a certain degree.
Okay, cool. Well, sometimes it's hard to let go of those things because we want to watch it, we want to manage it, or we don't trust somebody else to do it as well. And that's the balance of leadership, right? At what point can I raise somebody up that I can trust? And that goes into the law of influence, which we'll get into next week. Okay, so we're not going to get to go over all of these questions that I have from my workbook, which I'm going to loan to whoever's doing the next leadership lesson the week before we do it. Okay. Do you know someone whose leadership lid seems to be unlimited? It's a yes or no question, but he gave you 3 lines. I hate it when people do that. So I think he wants you to put the name of that person, which doesn't need 3 lines. But think about that just for a second. Is there someone you know whose leadership lid seems to be unlimited? I know, John. It's yourself, isn't it?
You know what I'm sorry, were you going to say something?
No, it's like.
Oh, okay. When I was reading the law of the lid, I don't know whether some people have a smaller lid because of their own doing or because they allowed other people to convince them that was their lid.
It's a little bit of both, I feel
The answer
like.
is yes.
I mean, the whole time I was reading that, I feel like that happens so much that you're around people that
Like
don't.
negative people.
They don't believe that you can do it or that it can be done or that they have their ideas are so small and so in a box. They can't get beyond that little box and what they can see, and go to places where they can't see and imagine things. And so I don't know, in my mind when I was reading that, I don't know how many people have a lid that's really small because they chose it or they believe that because somebody else made them believe it about their own abilities and about their own ideas and their own dreams and their own visions. And I feel like that's a really big problem in a lot of places and even in the church.
I agree.
Yeah, and so I guess since we're in church, we kind of gravitate towards that. But I will say that there has to be a blend of both, right? From the aspect of personal responsibility, your own ability, which I love the word responsibility. Like, we don't think about it, but it's responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So it's your ability to respond to what is happening. Do you have a question, Stephen?
The 98% of all the businesses in America and all the things of leadership, 98% of all businesses in America never make $1 million. Can you believe that?
Wow.
And the number one issue with getting over $1 million threshold is most entrepreneurs or most pastors or most people in leadership roles have a lid. And to get past the lid, get past to the next million or $1.5 million, they need to bring people alongside of them. And guess what? That's the hardest thing in the world, to find that person, man or woman, to come alongside of you. Because what's going to happen?
Relationship.
They're going to start their own business. Because if they can do it for you, they can do it for themselves. But even in a church situation, looking for leaders and looking for people to supplement your shortcomings or and I'm sorry, I haven't read your book, so
I didn't write it, but yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I'm talking out of turn or not.
No,
but
you good.
You're close. I
But-
do want to focus in on the question, though, which she was asking about. Is it my ability, or is it somebody else clamping the lid down on me? Did you have thoughts on that?
Most people in leadership has a threshold,
Mm-hmm.
and they will not get above that. They need assistance. And
Yeah,
that-
but if you have people below you trying to float you higher, and then you don't allow them to float you higher, that gets very discouraging for the people underneath of you that might think, oh, we could do this, this, and this. Do you know what I'm saying? And I feel like people around you too, just it may be not even in your business, but if you mention it to them, like, I would like to do this, or I'm thinking of that, they're like, oh, you can't do that. That's out of the question. You know, you don't have the whatever, the funds, the mental capacity, the strength, the family, the whatever to do that. You know, you don't have the character to do whatever. I mean, they just.
A good example of raising the lid is Franklin Graham. You know, early on in his ministry as a young person, he was a hoodlum.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's running Samaritan's Purse.
Mm-hmm.
And I just seen on the news today with the airplanes landing in Bahama with Samaritan Purse on the background. He went from a hoodlum to following his father and God and developing his leadership
Yeah.
skills.
Oh,
Go
is
to
that Billy
page
Graham's son or
77.
something?
Pardon?
Is that like Billy Graham's son or something?
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Page 77.
And John's going to teach us about this.
I am.
He's already been reading about it.
I did. Read it last night.
So, when groups come together, leaders go their own way. I'll show you the picture. 10, 7, 5. Then, soon people change direction to follow the strongest leader. And then, if you go to page 78, you see people naturally align themselves and follow leaders stronger than themselves. This is interesting in corporate world because it's based on position, and you have your company's hierarchical structure, right, with CEO and then maybe the board or however you structure it, right? And if this guy down here has a huge ability and success dedication, he's gonna move up, or he's gonna jump ship and go to a whole different company. That's why you as the leader have to identify who's a leader in your organization.
Mm-hmm.
Or the worst part is when you're the leader down here and this person doesn't have a clue what leadership is. That's frustrating because you're the one down here saying, we could do this, we could do that, we could do this, we could do that. I'm going to put this together. Here's a presentation. Let's make it happen. Cool. It's awesome. Let's get it going. And then it's like, no, this is the way we've always done it. So we're just going to keep doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, that's pretty much the definition of Sears. Right?
Yes.
That's the first one that came to mind. I was trying to think of the other companies. So many people and companies had different people. Millennials, if you want to just put a label on it, of, hey, we need technological advances in our company. We need to make sure we're keeping up with the times. We need to do this and do that. And they had the spunk, the ability to make it happen. But no, the top of the company said, we're not going to do it. Toys R Us, it's another one.
Yep.
Right? So it's not just the technology, it's the fact that the leadership died.
And another example of somebody who did a great job is like libraries. They're rocking it.
They are
You know?
really good.
Because like newspapers, like they don't keep up. I don't know what they're gonna,
Yeah,
but libraries, they're on it.
Yeah,
they're like
you
relevant.
can get audiobooks on the apps and everything.
Yeah,
It's
they hire
great.
us to do animal shows. I mean, like, and I'll say, like, when you guys are, like, out in the world and you're looking at nature, you'll be like, I wonder. And then you can get a book from the library, you know? And so the connections, libraries are doing great.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I agree.
Early on in my career, I was taught the principle of a program called Rule of 24. And if I hired 24 people, I don't know what you do for a living, but if I hired 24 people, 16 will not make it 30 days. 4 will not do enough to have a career or help me in what I want to get done. So out of 24 people, I want to find the 4 people that I want to invest the most in. and give my full all to those 4 people.
And it's time that actually gets the answer for that, because you can hire somebody, you're like, man, this is my golden egg right here, and then
They burn out.
that's not who you
So,
expected to rise to leadership.
good leadership is identifying the people that will help you with your goal or challenge you to grow your lid.
I would say that rule of 24 probably changed a little bit in this day and age.
The
I
number
could see
changes,
that.
but the principle remains.
Yeah, that could still be relevant for sure.
Okay, where was the question that I had? Okay. How will you increase the dedication, spouse assessment? No.
We,
Just leadership.
I was
Yes,
thinking we have interesting thing with our company, because I did like Realm of the Reptile for a long time, and like, you know, his leadership ability is like better than mine. He's got all these ideas, so he's like the guy down there going like, ideas. So we have an interesting scenario where like he's gonna help me grow fast, you know. So that way we can keep going in the right direction. But he doesn't want to take total leadership of the company, because I've invested so many years. You know, I'm like, oh hi, you know, I'll send you wedding pictures, you know.
Yeah, her relationship with her clients are crazy. Like, just crazy. Like, I'm like, okay, do you want to buy it or not? Like, you know, I'm exaggerating a little bit for the point, but, you know, and I don't want to get in the way of that because of her relatability to customers, and so we're utilizing that for the sake of the company. One of the questions that I want everybody to think about, and then hear the question, kind of what you were saying, how long does it take you to determine a person's leadership lid once that person has been put in charge of a team? So I'm going to answer first, but I want everybody to think just for a second.
I have a thought. Is that too quick?
No, that's good. That's good.
Once people start like making suggestions, how they respond to it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, just a 50-year-old number.
What said the time? How long? So, from my experience in sales and people, and the thing about sales that you would appreciate is it's straight commission. So it's a volunteer army. There's no corporate structure. You have 24 people, but one of them is going to be your top salesperson. So you can look at the whole thing and be like, oh, this person has a better leadership lid or sales ability or whatever it is, right? So over time you can see that. With employees, whenever you're given, let's say you hire 3 people at the same time, you can look at those 3 people in that same position and there's an equal playing field. But if you hire somebody in one position, another person another position, another person another position, you might just need to move those 3 people and they would actually work better in different roles. Could be based on the person. So that changes dynamics. And same with the church. We're talking about leading groups and stuff. Life groups. You talked about attending the parishes. You said Max.
Yeah, I was thinking about attending theirs.
Okay. So them or the Pences, they're starting their own because they were like, hey, we're gonna start our own. Cool. We go to Craig Fullerton's because Craig is really good with 20-somethings. Like, he's just really good. He's very wise in dealing with matters that are like what I would call post-single. Being married, right?
Post-single.
Post-single. You're not single anymore, babe.
Well, it's not only for people who are.
It's not.
There's single
but
people.
there are single people, but that's why I said it that way. There's single and post-single. I didn't say single though, but you're right. I have found in my experience that it takes 2 weeks for me to listen, learn, work with, to put an idea of a number of where somebody is. Okay? I think that's why I scored well on the leadership lid. Is not just I can sense it myself, knowing where that is, but also identifying it for somebody else. I think it's because of my natural ability to want to learn. And so I'm always studying people, which I find to be the most fascinating thing on the planet. So I've studied leadership and I've studied strengths and stuff. 2 weeks and I can, boom, this is probably going to work, this is probably not going to work. But I can't tell it at face value. A lot of times people judge a book by its cover, but that's not actually what determines success in somebody's leadership ability. 90 days is what I let play out. If after 90 days I'm proven right, awesome. And I typically am to my own judgment. But then sometimes I'm surprised. And that's why I give that window of, hey, I'm going to give this about 90 days and see what happens. So that's the timeline that I've thought of. Have you found that to be true in y'all's line of work? Yes, no, maybe? Your law of 24, you said 30 days, and those guys are done. 8 of them or 16 of them?
16 of them.
16 of them are done, right? So then there's...
They take themselves out.
Yeah.
Because they didn't sign up for what the job was. They didn't know what we wanted and what skills were really needed.
Is this like door-to-door sales?
But this is in anything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, all the different companies.
People take jobs not knowing what the job's about.
They're
And
hoping
then
to get a
they-
paycheck.
Then they find out that's not for me.
Same thing in the church, though.
Yeah.
Sometimes people will sign up and say, hey, I'm going to have a life group, and they're thinking that we all get together and drink martinis.
Yeah.
And it's just different, right? So that goes to be seen. But then what I love about this is it's kind of what you've broken down, the 4. I put 1 because you're kind of looking for that 1 out of 4. So 4, 8, 24, and then out of that you're going to have 1 or 2. It goes back to the parable of the sower and the seed. He had four different grounds that he casted seed on, right? Some of it didn't grow up at all. It was scorched by the sun. Some of it grew up, sprang up, and then it went down because it was on bad soil. And then some of it started to grow and mature, but it grew among weeds and then was tossed aside by the cares of the world, the lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, essentially, right? But then 25%, good soil, no weeds, and that harvest produced it a 30, 60, or 100-fold. So, similar principle whenever we're dealing with people, but this isn't just about learning how to lead other people, it's also learning how to lead yourself. So on your leadership lip, what can you do to raise your ability? All right. Now, I did want to go over the Johari window a little bit, but it looks like we're running out of time. We're at 8:11, 8:10. So maybe we can get to that next week. If you want to Google it yourself, it's the Johari window. Does anybody know what that is? No? Okay, cool. Johari is spelled... If you can't see that, Cindy, that's Jahari. Johari. You just say it in your Google voice, it'll recognize it. All right, so the law of the lid. We have encapsulated it in this talk and in this discussion. And everybody that's watching, I want you to post a video about your thoughts and questions as they arise, essentially. Like whenever I'm asking a question about the 2 things about Ray Kroc, I want you to go to the book and look at it. So that's just kind of like you're a hologram, and you're like sitting right here. And then it's like you're participating. But you've got to post the video, in order for us to physically see your hologram. Make sense? Cool. They responded. Did y'all hear that? So, law of the lid encapsulated. There's a lot to digest. It's a lot to think over. And I want you to meditate over the next couple of days, but I also want you to start reading and preparing for next week, the law of influence, which to me is kind of like another pendulum law that I'm glad that he fronted these towards the beginning, right? Because each law is important in and of itself, but knowing the law of influence changes everything, in my opinion, and the way that you see things in life. So, law of the lid, any questions?
So, actually, I kind of do.
Yeah.
So, basically, it's kind of like the law of how teachable and learnable are you going to be to learn the rest of this stuff? Is that right?
That's one way to put it.
Because he didn't really give us any action steps to be better with our law of the lidness. It was more like, you're going to get better, right? If you don't get better, you got a lid.
So, yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just like, what
It's
are the
like
action
you just
steps
have to
here?
raise it. So it's like, oh, here's the ways you raise it, basically.
Well, that's the way that's why I said that at the beginning, that this one kind of is different, but it's kind of needed to be understood for the rest of them to make a lot of sense. So I'm really glad you put it at the front end.
That makes sense.
It's foundational. In my opinion, it's a little bit more of a structural type thing than John alludes to, saying they're all alone. They can all stand alone. Like, I get that. They can. But it's also good to learn them in this order, which is why I packaged the book this way.
So this is super funny to me because I got just like medium grades on like everything except this one. So apparently I can grow. Like, how random is that? Like, how can I get a 9 in the law of the lid and then like nothing? So funny. A lot of room for improvement right here.
And also awareness. I mean, those 3 questions are essentially, do you understand the basis of what leadership is? Is your first thought, who can I enlist to help, right? When my team, department, organization, it's my first assumption that it's a leadership issue. It's like your leadership awareness almost. And that's so key. And then, do I believe that developing my leadership skills will increase my effectiveness dramatically? I actually put a 2 on that one. That's why I only had an 8. It's because I do think leadership, that developing my leadership skills will increase my effectiveness dramatically. The word dramatically was too dramatic for me. so I got an 8 on that one. So, okay, more questions? Yes? You got something rolling around in your head, Cindy. Is it I need to go because I got to get home? Is that the thought?
No.
Drinking time. Water.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you got 15 more minutes.
I know.
All right.
I'm working on
What
it.
happens during daylight savings?
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
It's nothing to do with that.
Okay, so let's go over this last point, all right, because we are kind of wrapped up, but I really, since we have a couple more minutes, because I don't have a lot of questions. Apply, number 3, okay? So people skills, planning and strategic thinking, vision and results. So, to let you guys know, I rated myself, totaling that up, I had a 28. My peers, bosses, employees, coaches, mentors, and then people that I coach and mentor rated me at 34. Cindy, we had talked about this at the beginning.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that evaluation. It was the...
It was the one.
Yeah,
that
they're
right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you get a chance to rate yourself on that?
I
or get
didn't
other
add
people?
them up or anything, but
Okay.
I mean, people rated me a lot higher than what I thought I was.
Okay.
What I thought I was.
Did they rate you on that? You said other people rated you on those 4 things.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Most of them were 8s and 9s,
Wonderful.
and I was not there with
That's
myself.
like 36, 37 like
Yeah.
level. Awesome. Yeah, I had a couple people do that and some not do it. So, where did you do your numbers?
What I thought was weird is you would have, like, some people would have 8s and 9s, blah blah blah. Most of the people always rated me higher on the final result than they did on the rest of the stuff, which I just thought that was strange. How do you go from those numbers to that number? That's
Well,
weird.
Mine did. Oh.
Well, that's now as far as being hard on yourself. Where was that story? How low did you rate yourself on some stuff?
Well, I mean, I felt like I sometimes do things the way that I perceive that they should go, and other times I'm so I feel lack of maturity. I feel like I really screwed that up. I am like a quavering bowl of jelly on the inside making this decision. You know, just there's so many things that I think internally in regards to that. So it doesn't put me at 8. I feel like when you want to get to an 8 or a 9 or a 10 on something, that you're probably a little more confident in how you see what you're doing, maybe.
You know, this is super weird, but I was making my phone calls today to book shows because I needed to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I think I'm amazing at it, but gosh, I'm, like, all nervous and I, like, pace around and I'm sweating and I guess I do a great job, but gosh, I'm just getting nervous about it.
That's so key, and that's why I mentioned the Johari window. So this is 4 panes, right, of the window. This is what everyone and you know about yourself. Okay, everyone that knows you knows this about you, right? Cindy has beautiful hair. Cindy knows that, and everybody knows that about Cindy. Right?
I just have interesting hair.
John
it's not boring.
has beautiful hair. Right? He knows that, and everybody knows that. Right? So that's what that window is. It's just all, everybody gets it. So then there's stuff that, I'll go with this one, that you know about you that nobody else knows about you. All right? Maybe a closest friend, a spouse, or somebody, but pretty much nobody else knows about you. So that's where maybe you're nervous, but nobody else knows. Right? That's what that can be. And then everybody knows stuff about you that you don't know about. This is kind of like the stinky armpit friend. Right? It's like, hey,
Oh yeah.
why don't you know this? All
Why
right?
don't you know you stink?
All right, Larry, you're the one. No, I'm kidding. All right, and then this is what God knows about you. This is your capability. What God knows about you that nobody else knows about you, and you don't know about you. And that's where we're trying to get to, as far as learning, searching out the matters of God, learning what it is that He has for our plan. For what is the will? What's your will for my life? Well, He's got a high capacity for you, and whether that's in ministry directly, full time, like Pastor Dave, or if it's in business ministry, because you are a minister wherever you go, whether in ministry. All right. So that's the Johari window in my simple, short little thing. But when you are talking about like being nervous, right? I rated myself lower than what my peers did, me, right? So once you ask your peers, you're probably going to find that they have a better opinion of you than you do of yourself.
They do.
It's kind of weird. Why? Because they don't know this window. But the good news is sometimes you're wrong about you.
Facts.
And you need to listen to other people's opinions because they actually have some wisdom and insight with what they know about you that you don't know about yourself.
Yeah.
Back when I was a younger girl, my dad said something like, sometimes the truth about you is somewhere between what you think, how you see yourself, and how other people see you. And sometimes the truth is somewhere in between. I'm not sure if that really is true or not, but
All right.
he mentioned it.
No, I agree. Sam's got some good wisdom. So, taking action this week, all right? If you want to do this, this is totally optional. I'm not going to do it because my calendar's too busy. Interview somebody whom you consider to have a high leadership lid. Ideally, this would be the person you listed in the observe section for who do you know whose leadership lid seems unlimited. Ask that person some of the following questions, and it's really just kind of an interview. Like, when did you first know you were a leader? What are some of your greatest challenges? You don't have to write this all down because it's on the video and you can go back and watch it. But what are some of the greatest challenges you faced as a leader? What has contributed to your growth as a leader? What are you currently doing to grow as a leader? And what is the best piece of advice that you would have for somebody who aspires to be an effective leader? So those are 5 questions that he recommends that you read and ask somebody in that. If I can prioritize and make time, I will, but that's optional homework if you want to do it. Once again, I said this is going to be more of a workshop. I don't want to send you home with a whole bunch of homework. All right, you already have to read a chapter and do his apply stuff every week. So I'm not trying to add that to you. And also, whenever you're doing the leadership, I encourage you not to add that to everybody else as well. So the law of influence, that's what we're going to be going over next week. All right. And Cindy, you said you're going to be out of town?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
I'm going to be working out of town.
All right. Well, I will close in prayer, and then we'll be closed. Any questions?
Thank you.
No? Gary, thank you for sitting in and sharing. I appreciate you. So, Lord, thank you for your awesome spirit being with us today. Thank you for the love that Jesus showed when he was here leading people and loving us. Even though it was 2,000 years ago, not maybe knowing, maybe not knowing that he was going to die for us all these years later so that we could be redeemed and be your church, be your bride. So thank you for that in our lives. Thank you for the ability to raise our leadership lid. And I pray for humility and understanding and the desire to learn here in this room and everybody that's watching, that we can truly embrace raising our leadership ability so we can influence more people's lives for your kingdom. And we can be kingdom driven in our mindset, God, in our workplace, in the ministries that we start, and that we come alongside to help other people that are leading and they have that positional leadership, that we can help make that happen and be raised. So thank you, God, for everybody that's participating and for everybody in this church, God, in this city, that we can be a front porch ministry church. In Jesus' name we ask this. Amen.
Amen.
All right. But